I want to show you a variety of ways that you can leave feedback in a Google Doc. Now, it's important that we leave appropriate feedback for students so that they know what they can improve on, but we also want to make it beneficial and efficient. So if you are doing paper copies, you would go through each paper and maybe circle some things, maybe do some insert punctuation symbols and whatnot, maybe write some things in the margins as well. Now that can be a bit time consuming, especially because you're doing it by hand and you might not have enough space. And when the student actually gets it back, they might be confused as to what you're saying because there's so many different things written on there and maybe they're unfamiliar with it. So Google Docs gives you a variety of ways of leaving comments. We're going to walk through a few of them. The first that you probably have already seen is that if I highlight something, I have the option to add a comment right here. Now I can go to add a comment. I can click up here in the open comments thread and add it from there, or I can go to insert comment, and here you see the keyboard shortcut is Control-Alt-M. So all of those are ways to do it. I would definitely recommend getting used to keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to click over here on this add a comment button. Now I might type in some feedback right here, and it could tend to get pretty lengthy because I want to be specific. Now imagine that you're revising a first draft and you have a lot of feedback that you have to give and a variety of feedback, but you're giving things multiple times. Typing in everything could get pretty time consuming. It'll probably burn you out. And then you also have the fact that students probably aren't going to use that feedback as much as you would like. So the return on investment of your time probably isn't there. I can type this comment in and they could see it and they would be able to respond to it or resolve or anything like that if they had needed more information. That's a lot of work. So another way that you can insert comments more efficiently is by using what's called automatic substitution. So if I go to Tools and then Preferences, I get my automatic substitution list right here. Now what automatic substitution is that when I am typing something, it will automatically replace it with something else. So probably the most common that you're familiar with is fractions, where if you do like 1/2, it will create it to look like this so that you have the superscript subscript form, so it does look more like a fraction. Those are probably the most common ones, but you can add your own in here as well. I've added 2 right here for our example. One reason why I put this in asterisk right here is because the likelihood that I am ever actually going to type asterisk, CS asterisk, is very unlikely. Now, I might accidentally type CS just normally. Maybe I'm trying to type abbreviate computer science and I type in CS, then it would jump into this comment, which I don't want it to do. So I've kind of marked these off by asterisk. And then as well in the comment, the replacement part, I've put it in brackets because automatic substitution does not work with comments. I don't know if it ever will. It would be a great feature, but right now it only works within the document. So this replacement is actually going to go into the student's document. So I have for star asterisk CS asterisk, this is a comma splice error. Make sure that you are using a conjunction along with the comma to connect these 2 independent clauses. So let's look at this for an example, and let me just put it right here. If I put it right there, you can see that this has jumped in right there. Now, this might be something that you use where, okay, I'll put it in there, and then maybe you will cut it from there and actually highlight where you want, add a comment, and paste it. That might be something that you do. That way I have the comment right over here as well. So that was an easier way of doing it. But there are still easier ways and more efficient ways and ways that will give you a greater return on investment. One of the really cool things is from here, if you go to Tools, you have the option of using Keep Notepad. So if you've never used Google Keep is some sticky notes, digital sticky notes that you have where you can take notes on them, you can make checklists, you can kind of just put whatever you want here. You can draw on some things, and they're stored with your Google account. So they're in the cloud. So they follow with you wherever you are. And so you can access them from any device, any document, or anything like that. So I have just 2 notes here. If I had more notes, I might filter them by, oops, I accidentally clicked the wrong one, by clicking the search button. And maybe I just want to filter by my writing notes. Or maybe you have comments that you're going to make for a specific type of writing. So maybe you're doing narrative writing and you have notes just for narrative writing. You could type that in as long as you label those notes ahead of time. So what I have on here for these notes is I have one called subject-verb agreement, where I give a little bit of a comment right here. But in this one, I've given a YouTube video. So now when I actually add this into my document, into my comment, it will link them to this video so that they can go and watch a refresher on subject-verb agreement. Now, these might be things that you find already pre-made. This one is actually from Khan Academy's resource, but you might also make them. You might make them as 30-second videos or something short, or even cooler, you give the kids an assignment to make a video explaining one of these concepts, and then you have your crowdsourcing it and you have your repository ready to go, maybe on your unlisted YouTube channel, and you can just link back to them as needed. So let's say that I do want to copy this, and maybe right here I want to add the comment, and I'm going to paste it right there. It becomes a link, and they can jump and go ahead and watch that video to figure out what I mean by this if they're unsure. So this gives you just some teaching opportunities for students. You might have a variety of errors and you don't have time to sit down with each student and talk about these different things. So this puts the responsibility on the student for finding out a little bit more information, and then maybe they come to you for questions if they're still unsure. So that's using Google Keep right there, handy little notes to have on the side. But another option that you might use is an add-on called Kaizena. Now what Kaizena does is it allows you to provide voice comments so that you can actually speak your feedback. And we know that there is a difference between reading text and hearing voice, especially when you're trying to convey some nonverbal things like the tone or different things like that. It's easier to hear and pick up when you're listening to someone speak. So I'm going to open Kaizena. So as I mentioned, Kaizena is an add-on that you will need. You can go to Get Add-ons and type in Kaizena, and you will need to log into your Google account. Your students will also need to log into Kaizena or have it as an add-on as well to receive your feedback. So some things over on the right here is our Kaizena tab opens up. I have a few options right here. I can leave a voice message, which will allow me to record up to 30 seconds. Another option that I would have to plan these out ahead of time is track a skill. So maybe I'm working on a skill and I want to highlight and rate a student on a rubric or a scale on how well they're performing on that skill. With a sentence, I could do that. Attach a lesson. Maybe there are some things that these are common things or things that I want them to continue to work on. So it's kind of like my Google Keep notepad right there. I might have some comments there and maybe some resources for them to look at. And so that's all pre-made right there. Or I can just do a text comment as well. But we're going to focus on voice message right now. So if I wanted to give the student a voice comment right here, I can click voice message, record, and then I can continue to give my feedback right here, hoping that I can make it concise and not too long so that they're not getting bored. And when I finish, I click stop and post. Okay, now this is highlighted as I as I click off right here, it's in, voice message. I'm going to record, blah, 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 and we'll stop and post. Okay, so now you'll see that it did get highlighted green for this. Okay, so now in here, I can play the voice message. I can listen to it, and I'm able to either reply or I can remove it, or I can resolve it. As a teacher, I could save this as a lesson if I wanted to use it for future use. I'm going to resolve these comments right here. And now they have been resolved. I can continue to look for more that I need as well. Now, some of the things that you should do are maybe use a variety of these. So maybe you are using the Google Keep to make some comments over here, and maybe you are using some voice comments as well. I'm going to give you one more option to use right here. One of my favorites is just giving a screencast as well. So right now I am screencasting this whole presentation using Screencast-O-Matic. There's a variety of tools that you can use for screencasts, such as Screencast-O-Matic or Screencastify. But what I've done before, maybe a student turns this in on Google Classroom, and I go through their assignment and maybe I read it paragraph by paragraph and talk about some different things. That way they're hearing someone else verbally read their essay and they're picking up on different things. Like they might find those comma splices or run-on sentences or anything like that. So maybe you do that, and as you're doing that video feedback and speaking, maybe you do add in comments or YouTube videos explaining why you want them to go there. And when you're done, maybe you leave some overall feedback. When I do a video recording, a screencast, once I am done, I will go to Google Classroom and just put that as a private comment to the student. I'll make sure that I share it and give it to them as a private comment so that they can go there and then click on that and hear my feedback as well. So I hope that gives you a good example of a variety of tools that you can use to give feedback. Remember that the feedback should be useful, it should be beneficial, it should be efficient, and it should drive student thinking forward even more.